John, tell me about Mount Shasta water.
Well, I can tell you right now that if you drink good water that God made that falls from the air and goes into the earth and collects the minerals that you need, it's really good for you. You start drinking this stuff with chlorines and chlorine and all this
Fluoride
and
I sort of goaded you into that question, man. Answer, so we're sitting here, we're drinking tap water.
Yeah.
And John says, "Hey, empty that shit out. I got some Mount Shasta spring water here for you."
I was hiding my rock star from John. I was like,
it tastes way better.
is that?
It is interesting. I remember, listen, I've known John for a lot of years now. I remember John used to carry around a jug of water, and I was like, "Man, where'd you get that water?" He'd tell you the whole story about going up to the headwaters, Mount Shasta. We're so blessed to live right here at the foot of Mount Shasta. And lo and behold, I started going up there filling up my old waters up there because it's so stinking good.
He's drug you into a lot of stuff.
Yeah, oh man.
All his speeches.
We'll tell some stories, man.
Yeah.
We took a long 12-hour ride to Utah. What year was that, John? It was probably 10 years ago or something.
I think it was closer to, about
2010, 2011, somewhere in that
something like that. Yeah, 10, 11 years ago.
And went out there, and I was like, oh, man, I got to sit in the car with John and listen to all his crazy conspiracy theories for 12 hours, and then lo and behold. And listen, and that's not in a bad way. I mean, I love this guy since the day I met him. But lo and behold, everything started coming true. And here we are. I'm like, this guy was right. All that crazy stuff John was talking about. But it was on that trip that we nicknamed you, right? Guru? I think was on that trip.
He got Carlos heard enough stuff from me, and he was like, "We're gonna nickname you Guru." I don't really know if he meant it or if he was just being a smart ass.
I'm like Guru because he knew so much about everything. He was like on this other level that we were just minions, and John was like this really like enlightened spiritual figure to us. I was like, I started calling him Guru, and it stuck.
Yeah.
Now it's funny. I'll tell people, I'm like, hey, John Knight. They're like, you mean Guru?
I had some guys come to my store. They were asking. They were like, "Is Guru here?" And they're like, "Who's Guru?" And they were like, "Whoa, maybe that guy was full of crap, man. He said he owned this place." And then, because my friends, that worked for me, they didn't know my nickname Guru, and it was pretty funny.
That's
but
great.
that name ended up sticking, for a long time.
So we have Guru, we have Woody, we have Lani, and then myself here today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Episode 2, episode 1. God, seems like so long ago.
it was a whirlwind.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. We covered a lot of stuff, huh?
Oh, man. The subject we covered.
So I think it's important that with the four of us here, we've all been involved in this process now with the documentary. We've all either been on the producing, directing side of the documentary or actually in it. And hopefully everybody that's seen or watching this has seen the documentary by this point, The Red, White, and Blueprint. If you haven't, it's theredwhiteandblueprint.com. Click on there, put your email in there. You're going to get some emails. We promise not to flood your inbox with a bunch of obnoxious things. I hate that, but just things that you might want to know that we're doing. Keep up with the movement here.
Yep.
Yeah, how about that fundraiser dinner last weekend?
Holy smokes.
Smoked it.
Did you guys believe that?
It was great.
I knew it was going to be good. I did not know it was going to be that good.
Yeah.
So I was up at the top of the hill there where the cars were coming, and you could just see them all the way down the drive, all the way down Silver Bridge, all the way.
I live on
crap.
Silver Bridge, and I was like, holy smokes. We do the bull ridings at my house, and we have one lady that lives on the road that complains and says, Silver Bridge was not meant to have this many people on it. This is so much traffic, and it's like 3-4 times a year. I was like, oh, this lady's going to shit a brick. God dang. They were backed up to the highway, to 44 there.
Oh, yeah.
So we're talking about a fundraiser we did for the Red, White, and Blueprint last week, and we did a dinner at Corky Harmon's house. And Corky is a leader in the community, businessman in the community. I'm sure he'll come on the show at some point, and offered to use his beautiful ranch as a backdrop for this party. And man, it was awesome. When we started, I think we were like, oh man, maybe we'll print out 200 tickets. And it was like, all right. Woody sold them at his barbershop. Mike Dill had them at his store. Hester had them at at the Red Rock. You know, John had some, and we all kind of had a pocket full. And before you knew it, I was like, man, we need more. It was 100 more. Then it was 100 more.
And it wasn't too long after that. We were like, we got to quit selling tickets.
No, we got to stop. But we didn't want to. It was like, man, we want everybody to party with us and, you know, be part of this blueprint, you know, and people are going to watch and say, oh, they just wanted the money. I was like, no, listen, yeah, that's great. I mean, this thing costs money. We got to, you know, build a studio. We got to put together this media company, you know. We got to hire people, you know, who can run these things. Last year's like, they know how to run these things, you know, and we want to be able to get our message out. So yeah, we're going to raise money, you know, and it was great. But I really wanted the energy of the groups to be there. The energy was incredible. And I don't think I can even explain it.
I even got to feeling bad, you know, because some of the lines like to get a drink or to get food were so long. I started like walking down the lines to kind of talk with people. I didn't hear one complaint.
They were happy to stay online.
They were just like, hey, we're just happy to be here.
Well, they bought it as a fundraiser and really lived it out that way. When they were there, there was no pretentious attitude at all. It was like, we're here to support that right there and get some information and get this ball rolling.
It was just really cool. And I've already seen on Facebook, you know, the other side, the opposition's like, it looks like there was 200 to 300 people there and that's it. You know, what they do with that money? What they do? You know, come
Carlos
on.
is raking it in.
I saw
he's grifting, you know. Like, can't you just be happy that we're doing something positive?
These trolls, they have no idea what it's like to actually work really hard for something and what it takes to put into it. So when you're successful and you do something and you're trying to make a difference, they're jealous and they just throw it out there. They're like, they just hate on you. You know, it's like, instead of worrying about what you're doing, why don't they go do something themselves? You know
what makes it really easy to be a hater? Social media.
Oh, God.
We talk about that.
Yeah, one of the comments about the fundraiser, and I just said, I'm sorry, I was, you know, commenting back and forth. Probably shouldn't have, but I don't have any time anymore. I have to go to an in-person 700 plus gathering in support.
We served 920 meals was a final count.
920.
So we had 920 people at least at this deal, you know.
And that was cutting it off.
Yeah, it was cutting it off. And how we could have sold 500 more tickets that day.
That's
no
crazy.
Exaggeration.
That's crazy.
But what a testament to not only what we're doing, right, but what's happening here in our county, in our country. I'm pretty proud of this. You know, I think, man, I'm seeing patriots come out of the woodwork. And patriots aren't always the people out there waving flags and going to rallies and, you know, singing patriotic hymns. And that's really not it, right? I think your patriot's a person that wakes up and goes to work every morning, really proud to be an American and doing their best to make this country better. Yeah. You know, your quiet patriot is very powerful, and that's what we're seeing come out of the woodwork now, going, holy smokes.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but, you know, people that seek positions of power are usually not good people. And now that it's gotten so bad that people that are good people are starting to say, hey, you know what, if I don't do something and I don't step up to a position of power, you know, what's going to be left for my kids and my grandkids? Right. And, you know, and so we've been letting all these greedy and there's evil people involved in this stuff, but, you know, we just kind of kick back and let them run with it, and now people are the peasants with the pitchforks are like, hey, no, not anymore. We're gonna step up and we're gonna take control of our community, and we gotta step up and do this, you know, or there's gonna be nothing left for the future of humanity and the future of the world.
You know, people were so angry that, man, they're not wearing masks. You know, people took pictures and it's on social media. They're not wearing masks.
Really?
Social distancing. I hope they've all been. I hope they've all been vaccinated. Like, listen, we're having a good time, and nobody's gonna get sick. We're gonna be just fine. If somebody gets sick, they'll get over it. I don't want to downplay the seriousness that some people have had to deal with a serious, you know, COVID sickness. Sure, people have died. People have gotten really sick. And I truly feel for those families. Listen, I never take any pleasure in families suffering over a loss. So let's just put that past us right now, you know. But I will say that I want to do what's best for the country. I want to do what's best for our children, for our future grandchildren, you know.
And back to what John said about these, you know, folks, it's time for folks to get involved. You know, we're past time. For too long, these narcissists have been in these positions, right? And, you know, I want the guy that you talk to, that you have to talk into, taking these positions. You know, because they don't feel qualified. I mean, if some guy comes to you and says, hey, I feel really qualified to be your representative, I'm nervous about that guy.
But really? I know.
Do you really want that job?
Exactly.
Like, do you know what you're doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a tough job. And I don't think anyone here, that's the other thing. It's like, it's not personal.
No.
We want new leaders though, and we want change.
That was the best
So-
thing Alyssa said when she served that notice of intent to recall. I thought that was the best thing she said. She said, "Look, this isn't personal.
No.
you know, this is a course correction
Yep.
because we've been off course." And I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was great.
She
Put
nailed
that out
that.
there.
She nailed that.
She called
nailed
it a job. What'd she call it? A job.
Course correction.
Yeah. She
Oh,
talked
no,
a job
was
evaluation. Yeah, this is a job
Yeah.
evaluation, and we feel like you failed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fantastic way to put it because, listen, we don't want to be personal. You know, I don't want to make personal attacks. And I even thought it was going overboard when some people got up and they said things about people's kids. And I think that's out of line. I mean, let's just,
too far.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to disavow that right now, you know. But it's the other side that gets very personal with us, don't they? They get very, very personal.
Yeah.
They hate us. I don't hate them. I truly don't hate them.
No, I
you
know.
In fact, I sort of giggle and think, oh man, you know, that's cool. I'm glad there's people. My grandmother said it best. She said, "What fun would it be if we were all the same?" So I don't ever expect for all of us to be the same, but I do expect, I think all of us to be patriotic and love our country. You know, I certainly don't want my children growing up ashamed to be Americans. You know, so
You know, they don't like this movement because it's similar to kind of how Donald Trump was. Guys like Carlos, when they attack him, he doesn't back down. And see, the media is used to being able to put pressure on you and bully you. And most people are like, "Wow, I don't want my name out there. I don't want this." And that's what Trump would not do. He would not weaken. He would double down, and they're just not used to that. And that's what this whole thing's about. We're not going to back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
you can't poke me or poke somebody over and over and over again. Then when they punch you in the mouth, call them a bully.
Yeah.
No.
You know, you can't sit there and call me names, and then when I retort, call me the bully. That's not how it works. Anybody that knows me, I don't go out of my way, you know, to make people feel less. In fact, people that know me, and I know all you guys, everybody in this room, I can honestly say would give the shirts off their back to hurt or to not hurt somebody, but to help them, you know, and to make their day just a little bit better and brighter. I think we're all in the business of making people, you know, feel good about themselves.
Well,
literally.
there used to be a time where great minds would come together and share different ideas and come to different conclusions, but share those ideas and learn from each other. And now we've just come to a time where we just hurl insults at each other. And you know, that's not where I'm at. But, you know, when you look at the left, they won't have a logical conversation with you. They just call you a racist or a Nazi or this or that, or you don't support this. And you know, we've got to come to a time where we got to have a conversation. And, you know, we were talking about compromise earlier, and, you know, I feel like we're constitutionalists, and that why is that considered so extreme? I mean, that's the law of the land, and we want the freedom to argue and share these ideas with people. You know, like I embrace other people's ideas, and I don't want to shut them down, and I'm fighting for their freedoms, and then they're here wanting to come down on us for just wanting to fight for their freedoms.
They're
at
only
the same time.
tolerant if you agree with them.
Yeah.
they're very intolerant if you disagree. And
Absolutely.
And we don't compromise on the Constitution.
No.
That's
No.
one place that you just don't
Nope.
compromise. That's it's written how it was intended
it's not
to be.
people say it's a living
living-
document,
no.
you know, and it's not a dead document. It's very much alive, but it's alive in its original form, not to be.
Means what it says.
It tackles something because people will say, "Well, it's antiquated." And well, then why is it so relevant right now?
Our
It's
founding
because
fathers were
it's
geniuses.
it's tackling human nature.
Yeah.
You know, it's saying, "Hey, this is the best way to govern the human species," because they looked at that and they were looking at the world governments. So now it might look different with tech or the speed we're moving or whatever, but it's the same humans. And the
It's a good way
human
to
can,
put it, Lonnie. I like that.
you know, and that's what the Constitution was managing, because you get in that argument. Is it Judeo-Christian based or whatever, secular? We know what the basis were. It was Judeo-Christian based, and that had probably the best benchmark for moral code, right? But it was humans. We're managing humans, and we figured out, hey, you got to give them autonomy. You got to give them a free spirit, and then they'll be the smartest they can be and the
you gotta
best they can be.
You got to restrain the government. That's what it was all about.
Yes, because if you the powers, the human nature, you're going to want powerful, narcissistic people are going to want to jump into those positions like you're talking about.
Which is why communism, socialism doesn't work. It
doesn't work.
Exactly why it doesn't work. Because they say, oh, we're all equal, we're all the same, we're all going to, you know, get the same fruits, the same share. But we don't, because the human spirit wants to step on somebody else to get somewhere, you know, so you're going to have evil in the world. You don't dispel evil you know, by assuming
That's why the
everybody's good.
Mayflower Compact didn't work.
Yep.
You know, they made this deal coming over that, hey, we won't need money. You know, you're a blacksmith. I mean, I'm a barber.
Yeah.
And you can just
What a stray
work
with
on my
barber.
horses. But the problem was the blacksmith was getting drunk, sleeping in, and not doing my horses.
Somebody always feels like they're doing more than the
Exactly.
next person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we have this wonderful document that all four of us for sure support, and most that are watching the blueprint, that says that was the best way to manage people. It was. You can't go outside of that, because you can come here and follow whatever you want to follow, do what you want to do. It's within the laws.
So what the heck happens to them when they swear an oath to that Constitution? They swear the oath, a sacred oath, to the Constitution to uphold, to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. What happens when they get into office? Why does that change?
They never knew what it meant in the first place.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think, how many people do you know that actually, because even like law enforcement, and I'm totally pro law enforcement, but I talk to a lot of cops. I work with a former cop, and he says, hey, we learn about department policies. So this is the way our department, he said, never once did they teach us to question whether or not this is constitutional, this department policy.
Right.
And so I think they just don't know. I think it's about
I think every law enforcement officer, and again, I'm very pro cop. You know, a lot of my friends are in law enforcement, and I love that. And I think every one of them should be a constitutional scholar. If you're going to enforce the law, you should have some kind of certificate that says, I've studied the Constitution and know it inside and out, backward and forward. Right. That's really important.
Well, I think, you know, to go back to your question, what happens to that sacred oath? Well, it was, in our tradition, a sacred oath. So you were answering something higher.
Yeah.
And that's been eroded. The move of humanist, secular, all that has eroded that. And so now you have your owning
Secular humanism.
You're owning only accountable to the fellow human.
Right.
Which that, if no human is next to you, holding you accountable in each and every single moment, watching over you, which is how I live. God's watching over me every single moment. I can't fall down. I can't do immoral things when no one else is watching. I can't bend the rule over here and lie to this guy.
Sure.
So, but if you're just satisfying humans, we're all very manipulative.
Oh, yeah.
The human can manipulate and twist stuff. So I think that's part of the erosion. I think that's a big component of the erosion.
And I think there's a basic moral principle, moral code that we used to live by. Whether you believe in the God route, whether you're a spiritualist or religious or whatever, you know, whatever your personal faith might be, it didn't matter. It used to be that we all understood a basic American code and how we treated each other, you know. Yeah. And there was an accountability to each other. You said it, you know. I need to be able to be accountable to the people around me, because my actions are going to hurt or help the people around me, you know. And it's important that my actions help the people around me. I want to make decisions that are going to make my community better, you know. And I think we've sort of lost that. We've gotten so selfish, you know, along the way that we stopped thinking that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that is a very, you know, that's a peaceful and very Christian way of thinking. You're always looking out for your neighbor. Yeah. It's not about just me. It's about the greater people.
You know, the question. This is an interesting one here. We can get a little bit juicy right off the bat. Do you have to be a Christian to be a patriot?
Hell no. No, you don't. You don't.
No, I don't think so. I think you have to understand that your rights are inalienable. And didn't come from the government to truly be a patriot. If you think that the government gave you your rights, then you also have to believe they can take them away. So, you know, whatever your belief system is, I think to really understand our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, and to really understand what it meant, you have to believe that your rights were natural born rights. They weren't given to you by some group that got together and said, "Hey, you know, should we have the right to defend ourselves, or these basic rights?" You know.
No, there definitely is a theme in the Constitution that we are accountable and we answer to a higher power,
right?
For sure. Because without that, the Constitution doesn't make sense. If I don't believe that there's something above me, there's no bottom line. There's no accountability within the Constitution. You know, so to think that the government gives me my rights is a word. That's tyranny.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
You know, that's a scary thought. That's giving them literally all the power in the world.
But there is some people that will live and die by that. They will support the Constitution that way.
Well, it's easy.
So I don't know if that I would classify that person as a patriot. They're going to fight for this country. They're going to do everything in their power for the country. They have a different belief system.
Sure.
That's how it is set up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there can be both. But.
And one thing people are going to find, and we're going to dispel a lot of, you know, mistruths, I guess. They're going to find that we're probably pretty open-minded people. You know, that I'm okay. You put somebody here, I don't care where they were born, what their name is, how much money they make, what color they are, what they believe. We're going to love them just the same. We're going to treat them just the same. I'm going to hear what they have to say just the same. You know, I think that's an interesting thing. People, as we start to, you know, get through this podcast episode after episode, people are going to find that about us, that we actually are probably the more open-minded people on the spectrum.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
tolerant. Yeah, the other side always preaches tolerance. But man, who's less tolerant than a far left?
Oh, geez.
Oh, man.
They don't.
They hate us.
Oh boy.
These trolls, they ain't got nothing better to do than sit around and worry about what people are doing that oppose their point of views. And, you know, instead of worrying about what we're doing, why don't they go and do something to change the world? You know, we're sitting here fighting for the rights of humanity, and here these people are trying to pick us apart and character assassinate us. They don't care if your kids are going to get picked on in school. They don't care if you're going to lose your job. They don't care about anything. If you disagree with them, then they're going to character assassinate you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's not fair. It's so hypocritical, because you dish out 10% of what they dish to you, and you're like the bad guy. You're the racist, or you're the whatever it
And
is,
I hate
the
that
extremist.
word. And this comes up a lot, right? Is the R word, the racist word. It's a showstopper. So if I cannot intelligibly defend my point of view, I throw in the racist word, right?
Yeah,
It's a showstopper. That's a conversation ender right there. You know, and it's cheap. It's like, no, tell me why I'm racist. I had somebody tell me, you know, there's systemic racism. That's different, you know, than being outwardly racist, you know. And I'm like, so you're going to tell me I don't even know I'm racist?
I know.
You know,
It's like white.
I'm racist on accident.
Yeah,
you know? Like, what are you talking about?
You're trying to brainwash me to be a racist?
and I said, I don't know anybody in this town, any business owner in this town that wouldn't hire somebody because of the color of their skin. And they said, well, that's not the kind of racism I'm talking about. I'm like, then what are you talking about? Like I don't treat people, I can honestly say I don't treat people different, you know? I treat people based on either you're a good person or you're an asshole, you know?
Yeah, I know. We have systemic racism, and we just had Obama as president.
Exactly.
Well,
It's kind of contradictory, you know? It's like, wait a second.
Me and John, we suffer from white privilege.
Yeah, you do. Gosh, look at you over there.
We just got our cards. I just got my white privilege card in the mail.
Have you ever heard Adam Carolla talk about white privilege?
Oh, gosh,
I wish we had that clip here, you know, because it's really good. I mean, he really just eats that up. Talks about his struggle, you know, and the struggle of, you know.
Oh, yeah. And
have
have
you
you
had to
seen
go through to get to
his
where he's at?
documentary he did, No Safe Spaces?
No, I didn't see that.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just a good angle of things. You know, I think they'd align with this movement where it's
How
just
cool would it be if
exposing
Adam Carolla
how
heard
much.
this?
Oh, yeah. We should send it to him.
We should send it to him.
But how much free speech is getting infringed on the college campus front, and how that's just getting cut off, you know, and it just shows a lot. It's a great documentary in that. It just gives a different angle than the mass media angle, the popular Hollywood angle. It's just different.
And that's
it's
the
important.
thing. That's the thing I enjoy about this, is because we can dispel a lot of that stuff. You know, the whole racism. I mean, that was dead. That's been dead a long time. I tell you what, I haven't met Lani or Carlos or David Harris Jr. the other day. The first thought that popped in my head wasn't, wow, Carlos is.
What is he?
He must be Mexican, or Peruvian, or something.
Where does that come from, you know?
I never thought
I'm
that
talking to a
once.
black man. You
No,
know?
I know. Well, that
You know
was
what he
so
thought?
funny.
He said, "This is a patriot.
That's a patriot.
This
right?
is a patriotic
yeah,
American."
yeah,
And he
yeah.
goes, "This is a human being that's willing to stand up for what's right."
Yeah.
And you didn't think nothing else but that.
Yeah,
The first
it's
time I met Carlos, I was standing in front of a business in Red Bluff when they were doing
That was a great day.
Black Lives Matter was their, parading around, and so I'm just standing there. He comes down from his bar to see if we need anything to drink, waters and that kind of stuff, how things going, and I mean it was kind of
That was a really cool deal. You know, that's when, I think that was the first time I met Woody. So what was it, Woody? Was there rumors that BLM was going to be in town, Antifa, and there was somebody had seen a bus going around Reading, thought it might be heading south to Red Bluff, or
yeah, and we had a business or two call and say, hey, would you mind just making sure they don't tear our places
and I
up?
thought it was so cool because when I got to the bar, and I got to the Palomino room that day, I saw all the militia guys kind of lining the street, and I was like, oh, we're going to be okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I walked into the bar, and there was this guy in there, and listen, I don't want to characterize anybody or stereotype anybody, but this guy did not. If you've been to Red Bluff, California, you know that this guy's not from here. You know, in small towns, you know who belongs there, who doesn't, you know? And he just looked the part. Okay, let's just say that what I see when I see on the news, I see these Antifa guys, from Portland or Seattle. This guy was definitely one of those guys. And he looked as uncomfortable as anybody, and he's sitting there, he's on his phone, and he's looking around, and he's on his phone, he's looking around, he's typing, texting, doing whatever, and he's on the phone, he's looking around. And I'm watching this guy, and I start thinking, I'm like, man, this guy is a spy. He's a watchman. They sent him out, as a point man. Yeah. To sort of see what was going on, see what the atmosphere was. And I guarantee you that dude was calling his buddies, say, hey, don't come here. Dude, it's not the place, not tonight, And that's what it takes, right? And this is such a big part of it, right, Woody? I mean, when people talk about the blueprint, man, what allows you guys to have that confidence to keep your businesses open? What allows you guys to be able to tell BLM and Antifa, you don't belong in our town. You're not going to terrorize our town. You're not going to burn down cars and burn down businesses. What is that? It's simply the fact that there's men and women willing to stand up, willing to show up with guns and say, hey, not in our town. And that's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. And it was just people across the board. I mean, when we came up to Redding the next night, man, there were guys riding in on their Harleys and cowboys riding in their trucks. And it was just people saying, hey, we're fine with you protesting. I mean, that's an American thing to do, to protest, right? But that's way different than a riot or where you're trying. These businesses have already struggled and they're holding on by their fingernails, and we're not going to let you
destroy it.
Who was it? Was it Maxine Waters or who was it? I don't want to say the wrong person, attribute the quote to the wrong person, but they said, what's the matter? All we did was burn some cars,
Oh, yeah.
Or something
I don't know.
like that.
I don't know.
It was in regard to the insurrection at the Capitol.
Oh yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, 270 cities had destruction during those so-called mostly peaceful protests, right? But 270 cities, and this violent insurrection at the Capitol.
Yeah,
who we've talked to a congressman that was there that said, man, even though that wasn't a good thing to do, it wasn't like they portrayed it on the media or in the news either,
Well, I was there personally, and there was probably about 500,000 people at the Capitol, and maybe, maybe there was 200 people who were involved in violence and stuff and forced their way in. But the reality is they opened the gates up, they let everybody in. Most people didn't know what was going on there. When you go to something that there's a couple hundred, few 100,000 people already there, and the gates were opened and you were let in,
and people start moving that direction, you start to follow.
There was no barriers that were broke for, people were let in, and then there was some people that were doing some violence, but the reality is
we disavow.
We disavow, and there's a lot of people who are Antifa BLM, and they get let right out of jail, and the media won't cover that there was actual people who were pulling false flag acts and trying to ignite a fire. And then, there was a CNN reporter and that Josh Sullivan guy were like the first guys in there, and they were right there when Ashley Babbitt got freaking shot, but who cares about that? We don't even know who the guy was who shot Ashley Babbitt. If this was some kind of other situation where there was somebody from, a black guy that got shot by a white cop, we would be all over it and they'd be rioting going on. But because it was a white person shot who was a Trump supporter, it's a whole nother deal. We don't even know who the heck the cop was.
And that's a problem.
There's an old saying that was, one person dies. I'm sorry. A million people die, it's a statistic, and one person dies, it's a tragedy. I believe that was a Stalin quote, but anyways.
Yeah. And that's the truth, and they politicize it every single time, and I just wish it was fair. Listen, let's report all of it, right? And if a cop unjustly, kills a person, it doesn't matter if they were black or white or Asian or Hispanic, it doesn't matter, right? If it's an unjust killing, it's an unjust killing, and let's call it what it is. None of us here are going to defend that cop if the killing was unjust.
But it's not some systemic problem.
It's not a systemic. Are you kidding me? It's not. And listen, law enforcement's out there every single day, leaving their house, kissing their wife and kids, not knowing if they're going to come back that day. I guess we can all say the same thing, right? We all have the propensity, I guess, to die on their way out, but they are facing danger.
Yeah.
Every day that they go out, and you got to respect that. You got to respect the guy who's willing to put on that uniform to serve and protect every day. Are they all perfect? No. And I myself have been very critical of law enforcement in the past, especially over the past year when I felt like maybe they were enforcing things they shouldn't enforce, things that were unconstitutional. But by and large, I'm dang glad they exist. I'm dang glad they're around and I respect them.
Oh yeah.
You know, you can't always lump everybody into one category. And, you know, the thing is there's always good and bad people in every group of people. And you know, if you look at the agenda behind, you know, this whole systemic racism thing, there's an agenda being pushed behind it. And that's to federalize all police and take away our rights to be able to vote in who is the sheriff and who is the police chief and who. So once they are able to say, well, hey, guess what? There's this big systemic racism thing, even though I'm not going to get into this. I could tell you right now, stop Asian hate. Okay, I'll tell you statistics I know off the top of my head. I don't want to get into it because I don't like getting into race. But the reality is black people make up 13% of the population. White people make up, 43% of the population. 26% of attacks on Asian people are from white people and 27% are from black people. And I don't care about that. Look, I don't care about race, but this whole idea that white people are always attacking people, you know, it's just, it's a way to push an agenda, and it's not about race. It's about federalizing the police and law enforcement. And the reason for that is you don't have the right to vote the people you want into on a local level, and then they're appointed. And essentially you end up with the Gestapo, and you have people who are in positions of power, you know, like the president, that can basically control all law enforcement across the board.
Why do we identify as a black American or an Asian American? Or, you know, I've never, not once in my life, consider myself an Hispanic American, Latino American, Peruvian American. I don't even know what that means. You know, I'm an American.
Human being. That's, I mean.
Yeah. I'm a human being, but I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I identify as an American. You know, people say, where are you from? I'm here. I was born here.
That's right.
You know, no, that's not what I mean. Where are you from? I mean, where my parents are from? Because that's a different story, you know. But where I'm from here, and I'm an American.
And I get tired of the attacks on America.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that America is the most benevolent world power in the history of this whole.
That's a great word.
It really, anytime somebody's in trouble, who do they call? And who shows up? We always show up. You know,
the world's 911 force.
Exactly. So I'm about fed up with the whole
I love the story of even when when I say we, America, you know, when the SEALs, those brave men went in and killed bin Laden, you know, I kind of read, you know, about the operation and how it went down. And there were women and children who were holed up in that house, you know, and the Americans were so careful not to kill any women and children, to separate them at the risk of their own lives.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the American spirit. Had that been the Russians or somebody else going in there, they would have wiped everybody out.
Yeah.
You know, we hold such a regard for the sanctity of life in this country. I mean, and we are nice people. We are good, benevolent people, you know, and I think that's awesome. We need to embrace that.
Yeah.
You know,
defend America. You know, it's okay to defend America.
Well, what General Mattis say? You know, no better friend, no worse enemy.
Yeah,
I think we should all live by that.
Quote.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
Well, and I love that the blueprint is pushing this out. It's professional enough. It's well organized enough that it's getting this word out. This word that a lot of people would talk at their kitchen table or be afraid to get out because somebody's going to come bullying them or tell them, you know, try and have the bigger mood or the louder voice. It's like, wait a second, I'm just trying to be an American that still loves the country here.
Yeah.
Do it. You know, and this is going to help propel that.
So
there's a bunch of people here that are doing that.
Let's talk a little bit about that, Lani. Let's talk about the blueprint and how we got here and what we're doing. What's this mean? You know, it's a cool logo, red, white, and blueprint, one community at a time, you know, and people are going to start seeing this. I'm starting to see the merchandise out there. It's kind of a neat thing. But what is it? You know, this started as an idea. We had a group of us that were meeting, you know, once a week for a while, and it started off as this really angry group, you know, angry and frustrated group.
Fed up, you know, we're like, where are we going? You know, they're going to come for us. You know, there's going to be a war. Are we going to fight? What are we doing? You know, now I was like, whoa, hold on, guys. Let's talk about this a little bit, you know, because, you know, rightfully so, people saw my speech. They were fired up, you know, and they were like, man, are we fighting? And I said, it might be one day, but not now, not yet. So let's talk about some other options and things that we can do before or to avoid that kind of a kinetic fight, you know? Well, the reality is we have to do everything we can, You know, we have to do everything we can legally and lawfully and try to avoid violence at every corner that we can, you know, to be in the right no matter what. And if it ends up being a last ditch effort, then that's what it is. We have to protect ourselves.
And
but
we're going to have to.
We're going to do everything that we can to try to turn things around and preserve the freedoms and liberties of our kids and our grandchildren. And it's really not a complex thing. You know, we really just want people to uphold the oath to the Constitution that we're, you know, and that's really all that
That's all
comes
we're
down.
asking.
That's all we're asking.
And if we have to fight, you know, it's going to be because, I mean, if we're in a war, if we are in a civil war, in a fight, it's not because I want to be there. It's because we have to be there at that point. And we've exhausted every option. When we get to that point, man, everything's gone awry. And I think it's a complete failure. It's a result of a failure. Oh, yeah. You know,
and I always,
that point, nobody's going to be happy about that. I said that in the last episode that, you know, I would never want my children to have to live through that. You know, so
that's the last thing.
So we're meeting and we're talking and we're throwing around our ideas, and it started to feel a little bit like an echo chamber after a while. And we said, how do we make a difference? How do we actually get out of this group, you know, and affect some change? And John had this great idea to start a media company. He says, hey, I've been having this idea for a media company. You said, what'd you say, John? You called it
Mountaintop Media.
Should have been Guru. Should have been Guru. I'm just saying, Guru Media.
Guru Media. Guru Media.
No, so I just got back from a long drive and came and met up Carlos.
He was amped up, man.
I was amped up, bro.
And when I heard that, I said, man, that's catchy.
Sleep.
It's cool.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So you said it earlier, I think in the last episode, you said that it's an information war.
Yeah.
Right? It's an information operations war here. And what better way to attack that than through a media company? Because the media, it can be used for really good or really bad, as we've seen.
And we're behind.
We're
way behind. So I think people are really hungry for it, and that's why they're gravitating towards it. You know,
absolutely.
Well, I think that a lot. My perception of this whole thing is that there's a lot of people that you know, that are not involved, and they don't think that they can make a difference in their community, and they think that, you know, it's just, it doesn't matter what they do, nothing's going to change. And, you know, so the whole idea for me is that I have a lot of hope for humanity. And I think that by showing that we can change our community, if you just stand up and put the effort out and stand up for what you believe in and stand up for freedom and liberty. And once we show that we prove that people that are not involved in their local communities and making a change in the world, that they're going to step up and say, hey, you know what, if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah. And that rally was, I mean, that fundraiser rally, I mean, there you were standing amongst it. Yeah, just powerful. All these people
Patriots.
There for that. United. So don't lose hope. Man. That's the point. That was $100 a ticket and sold out. Kept having to print more tickets.
I talked to several people that are saying stuff like, man, I'm thinking about running for something.
Yeah.
You know? I'm thinking
involved.
about being sheriff in a few years and, you know, whatever. And they're just excited to be part of it. It's cool.
And people want to be involved now. You know, we have a very participatory audience now, people that want to actually make a difference. And they're asking, man, what can I do? And you probably get that question a lot. You know, what can I do? How can I help? How do I get involved? How do I make a difference? You know, everybody wants to be on a winning team, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, I always point them toward, hey, we're going to need every signature we can get.
We're going to need everybody.
for the local recall.
And we're going to have to. And I just heard that yesterday, right, they finally verified the signatures for the state recall for Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
Yep.
Epic.
So he will be recalled, which is fantastic news, you know. But listen, our local officials are not off the hook. You know, they keep deferring to the governor, and they say, oh, what's governor's fault? It's governor's mandates, you know. It's his administration that's pushing this upon us. Yeah, but it's your job to protect us.
They voted to follow state guidelines. They could vote. Look, it's our right. Look, the sheriff is the supreme law of the county, and the board of supervisors are, you know, they're guiding most people, and they're the bosses of the county, and you know, it's easy for them to say, hey, and a lot of people have done this in the past. They could say, hey, you know what? We don't care what you say, Newsom. We don't care what you say, Biden, or whoever's in positions of power. It's our right to control our government on a local level, and they've just chose to go along with what the higher ups say, and that it wasn't like they didn't have a choice. They chose to go along with it.
Well, and it used to be that the sheriff was the supreme law of the county.
1974, that changed.
74, they did it on purpose. It was intentional. they put the attorney general over the sheriffs in California. And
I think we're the only
If I was sheriff, I would be the supreme law of the county. I'm telling you straight up.
And that's what I've argued with when I've heard people bring up that point about the attorney general. I said, well, that may be true, but if the sheriff stands up, makes a stand in a county like this, the people are going to back him all the way to the ground.
100%.
And they're not going to remove an elected official.
Look,
like
every
our
law
sheriff.
that was unconstitutional, okay, is null and void. It
Yes.
doesn't matter. They can say whatever they want. When you look, I interpret that I got my rights from God, and and I think if we, that I guess that's into interpretation, but I still believe that the sheriff is the supreme law of the county, and if we get the right one, that's
If he's
one
a
that's-
constitutional sheriff,
that's what I'm talking about.
if he chooses to be a constitutional sheriff, and I think the closest thing that we have to one is Tex Dowdy up in Modoc County. I believe that he is a constitutional sheriff. He's
He's
first one to
proven-
say,
he's
you know what?
proven himself.
These mandates are not going to apply here in my county. You guys go ahead and stay open. And then the bar owner asked him, said, Sheriff, what happens if they take my ABC license? He says, well, as far as I'm concerned, you can keep selling liquor in my county without a license. He says, are you able to get liquor to sell? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, well, then you go ahead and keep selling it,
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
That's a great example, though, of why a lot of people are mobilizing now.
They are.
Is the mandates went so far, you turned the law-abiding citizen into someone that's blurring the lines because they want to keep their business open. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
that's not how it should be. Government shouldn't be putting me in this position because all I'm trying to do is open the doors to my business.
And as they wake up, they realize they're not really blurring the lines.
No,
The government's the one that's blurring the
Well,
lines.
you never get
They
criminal out of
know
somebody
what
like
they
me. I've never been in trouble in my
constitutionally can do.
life. You
Oh,
never
yeah.
get criminal out of a business owner. So what's your crime, sir? I kept my business open.
Yeah.
Right.
Really?
Right.
I'll go before God with that one. I think I'll be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
That-
did
that
I
was-
put anybody in danger? No. I would have put many more people in danger by closing my business. People would have been without a job, and they say, well, that's what unemployment's for. But the people that work for me are proud people. They're people that want to go out there and make a living, earn a living. They don't want to sit on a couch and collect a check. And I know that's contrary to popular belief, right? People say, people enjoy sitting at home and collecting a check. I
was
think
the
they enjoy it for a little
minority.
bit. It's fun for a week or
Minority.
two.
Yep.
Eventually, it starts to eat at your soul, at your heart, because you're not meant
It's
to do
not
that.
natural. It's not natural.
No.
I want to encourage people too. When you were saying a little bit ago, they're saying, how can I get involved? Is, hey, there's somewhere for you to be involved, whether it be, we should control all of our local boards, right? Our chambers of commerces, our school boards. Man, school boards are huge.
Office education.
Yeah, all that. There's a place you can go. And I heard one time I heard Franklin Graham say he was preaching that to people. He was saying, hey, you should be involved in your community, and don't tell me you don't have time. Most boards, what do they have?
Can't bitch if you're not involved.
One meeting a month.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have time for one meeting a month? We probably do 5 a week or something.
At least.
So
I've been in meetings all day.
I'll tell you what, you stand up for what you believe in, and you get involved, and you give it your all. And when you go to bed at night, you feel a lot better about yourself, and it's so rewarding. And it can be draining, and it takes a lot of effort. But at the end of the day, when you fight for what you believe in, and you get involved, it's more rewarding than any kind of money or anything you could enjoy in life.
exactly.
I think it feeds the soul. And I think it's a human condition to want to feel accomplished, right? There's days where I feel like, man, I didn't accomplish anything today, and I literally lose sleep at night over that. Nothing feels better, like you said, John, to go to bed knowing that, man, I gave everything I had today. And that's what it's going to take. And this is a full-time deal. Let me tell you, moving this football up the field, getting the things done that we want to get done, which is to preserve the Constitution, which is to hold elected officials accountable, which is to take our counties back, and get the power back to the people, create a bottom-up approach to government. This is all full-time stuff.
It is.
And it's going to be a lifestyle shift for a lot of us. Myself, I'd be the first to own it. I'm all about owning, and I was not involved.
Yeah. Right.
And now I'm trying to insert myself where appropriate, and if it's another board, it's obviously the blueprint, and then realize this is it. This is sustained, responsible citizen. This is a patriot life.
Yeah.
I got
have nowhere else to
fooled. I
go.
didn't need to do that. I got fooled that I could just my constitutional rights will always stand. No one's going to come mess with me. and they're starting to reach. They're starting to require things that are way out of reach.
Here's the deal: when you build a house and it's all brand new, and everything's working just right, the roof ain't leaking yet, you got to know that one day that roof's gonna start leaking. You're gonna need a new roof. And that's where I feel like we're at. Like we've all lived in this nice new house, we haven't worried about anything, but now, we have a pipe that's starting to leak, and the house is starting to settle and things are having to get fixed, and things are starting to fall apart and we can't ignore it.
Right.
And I'm not just gonna, okay, this house is falling apart, I'm gonna move to a new one. No, or like my car's not running quite right, I'm just gonna go get a new one. No, it's not the way it works. You got to fix these things. And that's how I feel about where we live here. I'm not going to cut and run. I don't want to move to Texas. I don't want to move to Idaho like everybody else is doing. I want to stay here and I want to fight. And when I say fight, I mean I want to fix these problems because I want my kids to see the process. I want them to see, hey, you know what? Mom and dad and friends in the village, the people, the community got together and they fixed this place, man. Yep. They made it really cool, because it's a great place to live. And what's that say about us if we just cut and run? I think it says a lot, and I don't want to be seen as that. So,
well, if people just cut and run away from their problems, I mean, where does that get you? You got to face them head on, and where eventually you're going to run out of places to run to. So if you're not willing to stand up for what you believe in, and you're just going to run away, and you're going to run away to a bunch of other places that eventually the same stuff's going to happen. I mean,
they're only a couple years behind us.
Yeah, they're not that far behind, and I almost feel like we're in a unique position here in Northern California where we deal with tyranny on another level than you would in Idaho or maybe Alaska or Montana and other places that
we're like the rebels of the state, right?
We're the rebels, and I feel like after we're done and after we're reformed this area here, we're going to be better than anywhere else, in the world. I think this is going to be the best county in the world, and I truly believe that.
We're already seeing it. Where Shasta County's never been at the center of anything, really, right? I mean, the nation's only looked at us, for really bad statistics over the years. And now they're looking at us for leadership. They're like, man, I want to see what those crazy guys are doing in Northern California. Those guys are really kicking ass.
Well, hey, the Marxists made a mistake because they if they didn't create this pandemic, they dang sure used their old philosophy that never let a crisis go to waste, right? So they were going to get as much power as they could. The problem was those policies worked in other countries because they weren't dealing with Americans. And see, we're Americans, and we have a different DNA than a lot of places. And we're used to being free men. It was based on it.
Yep.
And so what they did, like the old Romans, they said, keep them fat and entertained, and they'll never rebel, right? And we had gotten to that place. I'll admit it. That all of us were fat and entertained. But this thing suddenly made things uncomfortable to a point where a lot of people said, "Hey, no way, man. We're not doing this." You know?
Yeah, and I'm getting
what happened.
I love that, Woody, and I'm tired of hearing like, well, look at these other places. Look at what happened in New York, and look at India right now. I said, we're not comparing apples to apples, people.
Exactly.
Yeah. You gotta critically think through this thing. Park the fear for a second and go, wait, does that apply?
Right.
Did any of what we saw happen really apply to Shasta County? No, let's look at Shasta County numbers. Let's look at what went on here. Yep. You've really got to do that. Otherwise, it's an irresponsible look. You erode your credibility immediately.
I don't even treat all my kids the same. I mean, you have the same standards, the same expectations, right? But you treat them as individuals, according to their personalities, who they are, what their needs are. Yeah. Everybody has different needs. So to put us in the same boat as Los Angeles or, New York or any of these other big cities or even, other states, I mean, it's ludicrous because we have a way of life up here that we want to preserve. We have a way of life, where, we don't live on top of each other. We're already pretty socially distant, we know how to keep each other safe,
we enjoy our freedom.
We enjoy our freedom. We enjoy our freedom.
And we're gonna stand and hold the line for it. Yeah, that's good. That's right.
We are. They could have been rid of me because I got to be honest with you, I was close to pulling the plug and moving to Texas. I could retire, be back there right now. My wife's a flight attendant. Their main base is there, but not now, man. As soon as all this happened,
you ain't leaving now,
right here. I'm staying here, and I believe what John said. I believe the same thing. I think the things that could happen here, the rest of the country can emulate. Mm-hmm. The counties that want to. Yeah. Hey, if you want to be dictated to by your county officials in Contra Costa County or whatever, then more power to you. I don't care. But you should be able to choose to still be free men.
Yep.
And I think
absolutely.
I think this is something that's super powerful, man.
I'd like to, in these podcasts, be able to use this TV. Is that something that we're going to be able to do, is use a TV to get some clips and things to talk about? Cool. We have our guys with, those guys are outstanding, by the way, to put this all together, and a lot of credit. Over there.
Yeah. I get a lot of compliments on
talented guys.
Just the actual work.
But I'd like that. I'd like to be able to pull up, certain things on here and talk about them, because there's a lot of good stuff that's out there right now.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about current events. We're going to be talking about what's going on not only here locally, but going on across the country and around the world, because all that affects us here.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street, right? We're looking to affect the rest of the world, but we also have to understand how the world affects us here locally.
And I'd like to see an episode really steer and dig into, because a lot of people say, well, what rights did you lose? Look at the lifestyle you're living. And like, okay, let's go there.
And let's
do
remember
it, because there's a lot there.
This board is saying, what are you guys complaining about? We fought the pandemic. We kept you guys up. No, listen, don't take credit for the things that we did. We stood up and said, we're not doing this. So anything that's happened for good, any positive results we've gotten from being open is in spite of what they did.
Yeah.
Not because of what they did.
Oh, absolutely. They wanted me to post a gold star in my window.
Yeah.
Really?
No. Oh, they wanted that was, if you're following, that was a countywide
thing. Well, in Tehama County, they want us to put, I think it was something like a star or something that said, hey,
I'm COVID compliant
business.
Man, no one even contacted me about my gold star.
Well, I knew you would have put one up.
I didn't get a gold star either.
I haven't had one of those since kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of county policy or mandate that came down that people don't even have any idea about, because we all just finally said it's unreasonable. I can't follow that. So now you lost the attention of the influencers, all the business owners and everything else. There's very few that probably said, okay, I'll do exactly what you say, and then the reason, post it in your window.
The reason I'm supporting the recall is not only because of the way they behaved during COVID. It wasn't because they want us to be compliant and do unreasonable things. It's really beyond that. I mean, we're starting to dig into this thing and finding out the kind of money that's being squandered.
There's a lot of dirty stuff going on.
The bloated nature of this local government, and listen, let's dispel something real quick. This is great. We get to dispel a lot of stuff here, We don't want to get rid of HHS. I know they keep saying that. They want to get rid of HHS, Health and Human Services. No, we don't.
We got people saying, we're going to go register all the homeless people to vote to try to, because we're going to tell them they're trying to get rid of the HHS and we're going to dilute the 20% that they have to get by registering homeless people and telling them that.
Let's go get signatures from people that don't even freaking know where they are.
Yeah.
But the reality
those are good
signatures.
signatures.
It's all based on a lie, though.
But should HHS have that percentage of the budget that they do?
I know.
It shouldn't be that bloated.
I believe
None
in limited government.
Should be that bloated.
Limited government. Okay, I'm not an anarchist, but I do believe that government it has a limited role in controlling your life, and I'm a constitutionalist and somewhat of a libertarian when it comes to, if you don't do something that affects somebody else, then why should anybody control what you do? And this overreach of government that controls everything why does the HHS need, I don't know what percentage of the budget is, but it's almost half.
It's in the 40s.
Let me pull something up here real quick. Give me a second. I tend to keep notes here in my phone.
And back to your point, like, it's not just about the COVID management. That put their mismanagement on blast.
So payroll for HHS for a 2-week period, one pay period, is $5,166,399.
So times 26, and that's an annual budget.
You're looking at
just payroll, nothing else.
Yeah, just payroll.
That's ridiculous. That's that's not the money they're spending to put bums in hotels and buy them.
Well, that's an issue that needs to be talked about. Why is the county making money off of chomos being dropped off here?
$5 million every 2 weeks to employ people. Health and Human Services, that should be like a 10-person office, right?
Well, I don't know, and that's the explanation we want to get.
Yeah.
You know, hey, tell me. Let's have health and
I
human
didn't realize the
services
government was
director.
an employment agency.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and that's what we
I
treat
know.
government as.
Yeah.
We treat government as a place to employ people. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Just remember what Ronald Reagan said about government, what the scariest words in the human language
I'm from the
are.
government. I'm here to help.
Exactly.
It's truth. You
It
know,
is the truth. No, thank you.
the government
Please.
by nature is not efficient. Trust me.
yeah.
I was in the military. I was in the Marine Corps, and I love the Marine Corps. And I think of all the services, we probably do the most with the least. But the bureaucracy and the inefficiency that takes place in the administration of that force is insane.
Yeah.
And so anybody, and that's a pretty efficient, operation, the Marine Corps. Now you're talking about these bureaucrats, in local and state governments. I mean, it's out of hand. When I have to spend a certain amount of money to get a certain amount of money, when the fiscal year is
That's
up and they're
backwards
telling me that I
thinking.
have to fly around and burn fuel in my
I
plane,
know.
because I need the allotment, to come in for the next fiscal year. That's a problem. I mean, that's just being, if I ran my household that way, I'd be on the street. If I ran my business that way, I'd be broke, so.
Well, and there comes the accountability piece. You don't have it on the government side of things. So it's the people's job. We've got to start exposing this stuff and questioning it and pushing this hard with this type of movement on our leaders to hold them accountable, because they won't go out of business because we keep paying taxes.
That's the great thing about this movement. We were talking about what can you do. There's people that are a part of this that no one knows their name or no one's ever seen them, but they're back there digging and getting the goods. You know what I mean? And I would be terrible at that.
No, but we have some great people. There's such great people on this team that are getting behind enemy lines and finding out the real juicy stuff. And the stuff that we're going to come out with is going to be incredible. We're going to piss some people off, but guess what? If it pisses you off that I'm uncovering your truths, that it's our money, right? I said this in the last episode that there's no such thing as government money. There's our money. There's taxpayer money. We had to go work. We had to go find that money somewhere, and usually work pretty hard for it. So for them to say that, it's our money, it's government money, we get to distribute it as we see fit, I say, no, listen, this is about us uncovering where you've been squandering this money and making sure that this doesn't happen again and that you're accountable for how you spend it in the future.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
These people in positions of power, they act like tyrants. And if you look at, I forget, it was the Angels of the Constitution, or they were involved with Terry Raposa going down there with the Jefferson State, and they went down there. And
Freedom Angels.
Freedom Angels, sorry. And they went down there, and Gavin Newsom came out, and he goes, "Get these people off my effing lawn."
Well, it's not
and that's
your
what he told to the cops. And it's like, what do you mean, dude? This ain't your lawn.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? But that's what he thinks. He thinks that's...
Isn't that the role of government today, though? Like, this modern government is so about... There's a government and then there's a people. There's a big separation, a big divide between the two, where that was never meant to be.
Nope.
No. That's not
The way the picture was painted.
representation.
Oh, my people are here? Come on. What do you have to say?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Maybe that's idealistic, but that is what it was
that's
built
what it
on.
should be.
That's what it should be.
And it was never meant to be, like I said, an employment agency, and it was never meant to be a career. I hate that career politician. You were never meant to be in there for that long.
Well, and there
That's
shouldn't
the
be
problem.
there shouldn't
We're
be
gonna
a
tackle that
major.
too.
There shouldn't be a major in college called political science either. It's far from science.
Yeah, I don't know what it's happening.
Political malarkey. Hey, that'd be a good-
I call it political
We'll talk
propaganda.
about colleges and universities too.
Yeah, we gotta dig into that,
I want
yeah.
to bring in some college professors and talk to them.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit about Marxism, and it started out with Fabianism. This agenda that's being pushed out now, and I showed Carlos the Dwight Eisenhower resignation speech where he talks about some of the scientific technocratic dictatorship, and some of that stuff is actually unfolding right now.
Military industrial complex.
Exactly. And he talked a lot about that. But the thing that's been happening, and he was warning about, is Fabianism, and it's where you get to the inner power structures of government, and you do it in stealth, and you get in these positions of power, and you take things over. And Marxism is more of a violent revolution, which would be more like Che and stuff like that.
You mean like
Che.
BLM and Antifa burning down
Exactly,
cities to
exactly. So we've
their
seen
way.
this thing turn from the stealth, getting to the inner power structures of power, and taking over things in a stealth mode through Fabianism, to getting more to this violent type that, well, they hit their apex and now they have to go for broke. And that's where these BLM movements and Antifa movements and all this super radical stuff is being, it's going to more of a hot revolution than, and that's, so we're getting into the Marxism.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we should give some homework once in a while around here.
I think so too.
I think every American, if you want to know what's going on right now, you should read Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, and it'll describe a lot of what John's talking about right now. It's a game plan.
Really give you a peek into their playbook, And guys, it looks like we're out of time here. I appreciate you guys. Great conversation. We could probably keep this going all night, but look forward to the next episode.
Right
Good
on.
stuff coming up.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks.